Set.
Go
Go
live.
live.
Hey sis, how's it going? How's it going?
It's going. It's going. It's going. It's going and going.
Super, super, super. Today is Saturday and almost into spring forward. Spring forward.
When it really?
Next Sunday.
Are you serious?
Yep, it is that time.
Seriously? We're getting ready to spring forward next Sunday? Spring's not even going to be here until March 20th, is it?
It's the 13th. Well, I don't know
really?
when. Yeah, but anyway, we're springing forward on the 13th, which is Sunday. And we are entering into first quarter of the year, ending the first quarter of the year.
Time goes by like this.
I know. It's amazing.
It really is.
Simply amazing. But all in all, I'm well. I hope that you are. And it's good to see you and good to be here with everyone here that is on Facebook Live with us today. So thank you guys for joining us.
What's on your mind today, Dr. P?
Well, actually, there's quite a bit.
Ooh.
I have ramped up my activities on LinkedIn, and I've decided that I'm going to do something a little different. Not a little different. I'll still do what I've been doing, but I'm going to do what I'm going to call my podcast. Remember when we were going on to Headliner and you'd have that little wavelength line?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to take some of the recordings that I've already done and take myself out of it and just
visually.
Yeah, and right. all that they will see is maybe like an ocean or some trees or something, some nature scene. I was looking at one of our coach Lisa Nichols videos this morning, and I thought, oh, I've heard this speech before, but I'd never seen it with the wave lines. And I thought, this is what they mean by recycling.
Repurposing.
Repurposing. So I am going to repurpose. I'm going to repurpose some of the videos and listen to them because, as I say, if I ask certain people to watch my videos, I'll say it's okay to just have it going in as the background.
Mm-hmm.
So this will be good for just background as well. So that is what I'm going to do. I want to say thank you to our one visitor that is watching. Not necessarily sure who that one visitor is, but thank you so much for joining us today. I'm Dr. Priscilla, and my tribe, my followers, my niche are the native, non-native English speakers. So, Coach Dwania, what's going on in your
It was a busy week. It started out on Monday. We had a screening at the University of Memphis of the Memphis 13 documentary.
Okay.
And while we all would always like to have oodles and oodles of people when we're doing something, it really isn't about the quantity of people. It is who shows up and who's excited. And so we have very small turnout. And really, we put the whole thing together in like 2.5 weeks. And that's a further confirmation that when you do something, you need more time unless you already have enough of a team to go on and just handle getting butts in seats. That is, that's, a feat in and of itself. That's a job in and of itself.
Okay.
So we were so busy getting everything else together. And, I was in New York. But everybody was doing a lot when you're trying to pull something together that fast. So it's also confirmation that you may be lacking in a particular area, but overall, because of the activity that we did, and this is the lesson that I learned.
Okay.
It was fabulous, number one. Number two, what was great about it was the quality of the people that were there. Because of the few people that were there, over half of them want to be involved It's different when you're asking people to be involved in something. It's something else when people volunteer and look, how can I help? What can I do? You know, not to mention that we were also having it filmed. So that was just major, you know, to have it filmed at a, you know, in that particular auditorium on that stage. It was just, you know, it was great. So, and so much came out of it because prior to that, we didn't have a donate button on the website, the Memphis 13 documentary. And anybody who's listening to this, feel free to go to thememphis13.com. You can see the documentary for free, but we would hope that you would leave a donation, you know, of $9 or $10 or something like that for watching the film. But by all means, if you don't have it, leave whatever you have. And if you don't have anything, watch the film and share it. But the point is, we got our donate button. And
do you have a link that you could post here?
The Memphis13.com. I can post that, but it's the Memphis13.com. And it has to have the in front of it. So it's the Memphis 13 and it's the number 13, not written out, just the number 13.com. And so yeah, we had a television and film producer there. She's all excited, you know, about what she saw. We had people that were volunteering. The film maker happened to be in Nashville when we were supposed to be there. He got there the day before for some business that he was doing. We were there going to our state capitol to be honored with a resolution entered into the records for what we did in 1961. And about 5 of us were there. So he ended up tagging along with us and filming us at the Capitol. And they just rolled out the red carpet for us at the Capitol. Representative G.A. Hardaway. So, you know, we were meeting most of the high-ranking
notables,
representatives and senators in Tennessee. So it was a wonderful experience, to say the least. It really was. And I'm not always so big on those types of things, but it really was wonderful. But so you just never know. But all of the things that we got in place because of that puts us in a better position as we continue to move forward in terms of what it is that we're hoping to accomplish. And then I had a great meeting about the murals that we're working on. So, you know, we're moving just straight ahead, and a lot of work, but so worth it when, and we had a nice little contingency of about 14 people with us, you know, and it's all very ceremonial, and, you know, to hear them read the resolution and Mr. Speaker and this and that, and now will Mr. Speaker come down to the floor and take a picture with all of us. So it was quite nice. And
I think what happens sometimes, it's the grassroots. Grassroots is just what it is, grassroots. You never have, or rarely do you have, this magnanimous amount of something going on when it is starting. I think of President Barack Obama. I didn't know him when he started, but I know he started with the grassroots. However, as he started with campaigning for the presidency, it was his grassroots. People contributed $5. I contributed my meager $5, and other people who in the other candidacy were asking not for $5 but $5,000. Oh no, don't have 5,000 that I'm going to give to anyone. But it's those small increments of something that brings about change. So when I talk about getting eyeballs to participate in what I'm trying to do with my YouTube channel, you don't have to be 10,000. I just need one. If you just do one, just visit one of my videos and find value in it, then that might encourage you to watch more of them. So if the Memphis 13 story did not go out with a bang, it wasn't supposed to go out with a bang because it's going on. It is an ongoing event. I have posted the link in the chat, and I will also post it in LinkedIn at the end of this program. Just awareness, because were it not for you little ones, including Dwania, you are instrumental in where we are today. So let us not forget that it is the history. Whenever we are ready to receive it, it is our history. And if we want our history to be told, we have to tell it, even if we are late on the day of the event and we didn't make it to the day of the event. It is still something ongoing. I'm just reminded of Sojourner Truth. And I will also post it in LinkedIn. Had she not gone back? Okay, well, I'm just, no, she went back many, many times. I'm sure it is documented as to how many times she went back, but with that documentation, she was replicated times over. So the Memphis 13, the program that I didn't get to see on the day that it was, I will get it out to others and invite others to watch it as well. So,
and that's
yeah.
Oscar that we have on right now. Did you see that?
All right. Hello, Oscar. No, I don't see him yet. Hello, Oscar. It's good to have you in the community. This is Howdy Gorgeous Teachers. Welcome back to Ready, Set, Go Live. Thank you, Oscar, I see him now. Thank you for joining us. It's good to have you join us today. And I hope that as you listen, Oscar, you remember what I said about the accents. The more you listen, the more easily it will be for you to differentiate the sound. Although mine is Southern, Coach Dwania is Northern, we both are doing what I say, pronouncing the words. The accents are going to remain the same. We're going to have our different accents. We're going to have our rate of speaking, but your goal as an English language learner is to listen for the way that we make that distinction in the sounds. So she was just mentioning the Memphis 13. And I want to say, don't write it down. Because I always say you need to tell me where you're from. And I think you are going to have to tell me, because he wanted to first just tell me that was Africa. But I said that there is a place. It isn't just the whole of Africa. But it isn't coming to me now. So, but anyway, welcome to Ready, Set, Go Live. And I will tell you, Coach Dwania, what I have managed to do. Voila, let me brush my shoulders off. I have your Facebook page open. I have my Facebook page open. And I have the shared Zoom link so I can see everything.
That's great. Look at you.
I am amazed.
I was over when you were talking. I was trying to I opened up my Facebook because I wanted to see who was on. But sometimes when you're hitting something, it'll just start it'll start it and it'll. So I was like, okay, I gotta mute the sound so it won't bleed over to what you was saying. And then you just get a little flustered and you're like, why can't I know what I should be doing?
Let it go.
But why is it taking me so long to get it done?
But it's taking as long as it need to. That's why. So that way you give yourself that grace and you say, not to say that you don't get frustrated, but it's just like, it's taking as long as it takes. And when I get it, I'll have it when I get it. And I'll just let it go at that. So yeah, things are moving along for me in terms of what I'm learning. As I just said, I've just decided I'm not doing a podcast per se, but I'm probably, with your permission, may I have permission to even put this one on as a voice? We won't show up.
When you were saying that, first of all, I don't care what you do with the content. You can do anything you want to do with content. You know that. I don't have or what, and then I'll come back and say what one of my favorite things is that Lisa talks about, because people are just so cute and sweet and wonderful and funny.
Okay.
But we've been doing this for almost a year, if not more.
Right.
So you have all of those, because I would say in 75% of them, you are talking about something that has to do with the English learner. And so you have all that content as well.
Okay.
There's a lot of content,
and this is what podcasts are. Podcast is about, we could go around the world with the podcast. It's teaching for my students, it is for them to listen to something and what can they gain, what can they grasp from it. So, well, thank you. That saves me a lot. Now I will just go hit that magic button that says copy this Facebook and just put in the sound. And in very short order, it should be ready for YouTube.
Yeah, but you might want to edit stuff, Dr.
Oh, well, it won't be the full hour.
Yeah, because they don't need just our ramblings about what our day was or something. I would just be going in to get it, well, I don't know. Is it about English learning?
For me, right now, my focus is, if I were to use what we're using, what we've done over the past days, weeks, years, it's developing your listening skills. That is a huge part of English fluency. You have to be able to hear and understand what you've heard.
And how long is your podcast going to be? And is this going to be on YouTube? So
yeah,
it's basically what you're doing on YouTube. You are parlaying into a podcast.
Yeah, it's just going to be a podcast. It just will not be Spotify. So here for clarification, when you hear the word podcast, what do you do with the podcast? I listen to it. Where do you typically find a podcast? On Spotify and some other places that I don't know where those other places are. Well, now you just want to hear something, and that is your podcast. When we talk about having apple pie, well, my mother would make those. They weren't apple pies, but they'd be in a tray. What do you call those? You have the apples.
Cobbler.
Yeah, you'd have apple cobbler. They're the same, but we just call it something else, but it's still apples. It's a dessert. So I'm going to create a podcast, but I will just start with perhaps this one. And no, I don't necessarily think that I'm going to sit and go through it. If I'm going to sit and go through it, I'm going to be doing what I'm going to do with my own, the ones that are already there. I'm just going to drop them into my editing device, chop off some on the front, chop off some on the end, and put it there. Not because
How long are they going to be?
I don't have a predetermined amount of time for anything. I don't have a predetermined.
Well, now, when you start getting into podcasts, though, you have a range, and you're pretty consistent with that. Either it's going to be 15 to 20 minutes, it's going to be 20 to 25 minutes, or maybe it's going to be a 30-minute one. And sometimes your 30-minute will end about 25 minutes, or it might go over to 35.
At this point, it's not necessarily a podcast. I'm not calling it a podcast. Here is a listening opportunity on phrasal verbs. So if it took me 6 minutes to explain it.
Okay, I didn't understand that, because you've been saying you were going to do what was equivalent to a podcast. So because you were saying podcast.
And then to build up to it, it took me a while to even, I got what you're saying. I'm just saying things that I'm on a roll for doing something. And I'm going to repurpose some of the things that I've already done. Some things I've done is an hour. Some things I've done is 6 minutes. The listening
And you
chart
don't
that
think that being consistent with a time frame would be good?
I won't say that it won't be good, but for my purpose, mine is to just get it done. Mine is just to do it. Mine is just to do it. And I'm not guiding anyone at this point in time to listen to any one thing. I'm just putting the volume out there. If someone wants to listen to it, by chance they run up on it, they listen to it. If I gave it a particular name and they don't want to listen to it because it is that name, they're not going to listen to it either. But I hear what you're saying, and it does make sense that if I'm going to put it someplace, maybe I should have a consideration for what it's going to be. But rather than spend time on what it's going to be, I'm just going to do it. And then I can later go back if I choose to and remove the ones that are not long enough or the ones that are too long, which I'm sure I am not going to do, because I was looking back at some of the videos. I was like, oh my gosh, what on earth is this one about? But it's fine. It is a history of me. It is a history of where I started and where I am. So I'm good. I'm fine. I am good. Yeah. So that's good. So what else is new? What else is new? We know that spring is coming and we get an hour, or do we lose an hour? Spring forward. We're losing an hour, but we're getting more daylight. It seems that we'll have more daylight, because I woke up this morning. It was just like, wow, it's so bright outside. And it was still fairly early, an hour earlier. Did I get up? No, I continued to lay down in my bed. Yeah. So Oscar, if there's a comment that you'd like to make, if you want to ask us something, we would be happy to answer it. And what you say is that I'm working on it, Dr. Priscilla, and I guess for now I'm a little bit okay. Let me remind you again, my beautiful country, which is, yeah, Bissau, Guinea-Bissau. I think it's Guinea-Bissau. Thank you for letting me know. I did remember it. I remember it is someplace, and you told me that it is beautiful there. So one day it will be for me to visit Guinea-Bissau. Yeah, thank you so much for that. And again, thank you for joining us. While you're here, Oscar, I want to tell you too that the Telegram, I haven't been on Telegram maybe in 2 days. Well, I was on there this morning actually, but Telegram is for you. It's for all of the members to curate what you have learned. You'll know the date that you learned something and the date that you really feel accomplished. So if you were able to say those tongue twisters, just come there every time that you want to practice and say your tongue twister. It does not mean that I'm going to comment on your tongue twister. It doesn't mean that anyone else is going to comment on your tongue twister, but there will usually be something that I have posted, even if it's just a video that you could watch at your leisure. But it doesn't mean that I'm going to be there to comment on whatever it is that you post. But I really value and appreciate your showing up today. So you want to know, okay, this is Haseen. Hey, Haas, welcome, welcome, welcome. And Haas wants to know the difference between a dialogue and a monologue. And that's really easy for me to explain, but I like to explain with examples. So mono means that there's a disease. What is it called? Mononucleosis is one. Di means two. So if two or more people are having a conversation, that is a dialogue. If one person is talking, like I usually do on Telegram, that is a monologue. Okay. And thank you. We've got 4 more. We have a total of 4 viewers today. So that is awesome. And I hope that that makes it clear for you. If not, ask another question and we are here to answer. So what we're doing now is having a dialogue. Coach Dwania and I are having a dialogue. And Coach Dwania, are you in here? I don't see you now, but I think she's in here somewhere. So we were just talking about the Memphis 13. I think I would like to invite, I'd like to invite everyone that is watching to click on that link after this session and watch that program. I will also watch it as well. I will watch it as well. What other questions can we answer for you guys? Do you guys have any questions that we can answer for you? Any thoughts? What are you thinking? Do you have daylight savings time in your country? Next Sunday, we will have daylight savings time. We will change the clocks. We will spring forward 1 hour. And it's interesting the way that we remember to do it. In the fall, we say fall backwards, which means we set our clocks back 1 hour. And in the spring, we spring forward and we spring our clocks 1 hour forward. Do you all have daylight savings time in your country, or is the time always the same? I'll just wait for you guys to answer. What do you think about that, Coach Dwania? Do you like daylight savings time, or?
I love daylight savings time because eventually it's not going to get dark until 9 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
And I so prefer it staying light because I never can get over the fact that when we fall back and it's dark at 4:30 or 5 o'clock, by the time it's 6 o'clock, my body and brain is telling me that it's 11 o'clock. So, and it's only 6 o'clock. And it's interesting because with light and dark, your body does certain things. It feels a certain way, your mind and your body, you know, and how it is or is not in sync.
Okay.
So I guess I feel like time moves slower when the day has more light to it.
Okay. Okay.
So, yeah, that's the way I feel about it. I love it.
I do too. I feel like it's just like, I don't know. It's almost like it's an extra 2 or 3 hours. It doesn't seem it's just 1 hour. And I have more energy. I have what was all to do more. And I guess more things are going on too when it's cold. In Guinea-Bissau, the time doesn't change. So they keep the same time all the time. So Oscar wants to know, what does it mean to be a daydreamer? Do you want to take that one? What is a daydreamer?
What is a daydreamer?
Or what does it mean to daydreamer? I think he's asking, what is a daydreamer?
I don't know. Let me see what you have to say about that.
For me, I would say if I'm going to answer that I'm saying that, what does it mean to be a daydreamer? A daydreamer is someone who is all about the dream and not in action. They have a lot of things that they want to do, and they think about, which is what I was just doing a little while ago, talking about posting more, repurposing some of the things that I've done on social media. I'm thinking about it. I'm daydreaming about it. And until I do something about it, it's just a dream. So you're just dreaming of various things. As it relates to English language learners, I could say that many of them, and I was in a community earlier today, and it talked about the people in India. The people of India, there are more people in India that are on Facebook that are on some countries combined. The United States came in second, but I can't remember how many it was, but it was a tremendous amount of millions. And there are millions in the U.S. as well, but it was.
No, it has to be hundreds of millions because
Yeah,
it's interesting that America would come in second in something like that, because I think people think because America is like a powerful country or used to be the number one country, because I really don't think it's the number one financial country anymore. That's really more like China. But when you look at China and you look at India, they have a billion point something people. When
right.
you look at the United States, you got about 350 or 400 million. That's 600 million people less than. So anytime the United States comes in first or second in something, that's something that makes one go, And I don't think we think of it in terms of that.
No, I didn't, but I don't. But my point being, that was still a huge amount of people, because I was thinking that the U.S. should have been first.
Oh, no.
But now that you put it in that light, I can see it differently. But there's a huge amount of, now let me bring it back to what I was talking about, daydreamers. There's a huge amount of daydreamers in India that want to speak English, but they're not necessarily doing what I feel is conducive to their speaking English. And when I say that, I'm not saying that they have to pay for it. From my past experience working with the requests or reading the requests of people from India, I do a lot that is completely free. And when I mention that, I get a response. I don't want to watch the YouTube video. I want a teacher. All right, then that's fine. You may come to all of the free classes that I hold. Then the response is, but they're too late. I'm in bed. Oh, okay. So continue to daydream. That's what I mean. When you stop daydreaming, it would be, I will get up and come to the free classes, even though it doesn't require anything other than my effort of just showing up. So that to me is what is daydreaming. Daydreaming is when nothing is accomplished, but another dream follows. That is what.
And it's not relegated, Oscar, whether you're doing it in the daytime or the nighttime. It's not relegated with if it's morning or night. You can daydream during the evening in the late hours when people are asleep, or you can daydream in the early hours of the day when people are waking up.
And I'm going to answer very quickly this question that you're asking, Oscar, and put a period because it will not require an answer from Coach Dwania. Why does China and Americans not get along with each other? Just think about your brother and sister. If you have a brother and sister or whatever you have as siblings, do you get along with them? And if you do, that's amazing. If you don't, you know the reasons why. And then that could be some research that you could do and come back and report to us why, if you believe that they don't get along, you can come back and repeat to us what you think. You can share your opinion on that. Okay. Good question, though.
In reference to daydreaming, it's so interesting because just the other day, maybe it was yesterday, I read that dreams are only thoughts if they're not put into action. I thought that was very interesting.
I love it. I love it.
They're just thoughts. So a dream is just a thought. I'm thinking of doing this, or I have a thought about this, but if I don't put that into action, it's really just a thought. So it's interesting to think of it that way. I mean, there are just so many different ways to think about things, period. You know, and I think the more we can embrace them, the different ways, as opposed to assuming that there is only one way to do something. And there are always so many different ways to do something.
Yes, that is a flaw.
And that's what brings diversity. And that's really what makes life interesting. And as for why don't, you know, the question of why doesn't China, I really think that on the large level, it's an economic thing. It's a financial thing. I mean, America is always flexing its muscles about, the financial thing. But the truth of the matter is, when you got 1 billion people, it's shifting. But the reality of anything is nothing is the same all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So just as nature changes, so does, if America's the power, financial power, inevitably China's going to be, or Japan, and somebody else is, Britain's going to be. It moves around and it changes.
This is
And
true.
we should be okay with that. And we should stop letting a few people who have all the money anyway administer to us in a way where we feel like I can't like your country because your country makes all the items that we buy, until I really want people to understand, because they weren't understanding it when I was saying it back in, I don't know, 2013, 2014, 2015, way before I ever got on Facebook. So way before then.
Mm-hmm.
That when we think about America being 300 million people, and for a long time, many of the products that we buy and continue to buy, especially like if you go to the Dollar General store, or if you go to a 99-cent store, or if you go to one of the low-end stores where they supposedly sell the low-end products, because I promise you, a whole bunch of the high-end stores, stuff breaks, especially clothes. I don't even understand how they charge as much as they charge for some clothes, because you buy it and 2 weeks later it's beaded up and
it's
all
really
kinds of things. But, getting back to what I was saying, so many of the things and so many of those stores, including your Walmart, because Walmart had some kind of deal that worked for China until it didn't. We always make those kinds of deals where inevitably Walmart or whoever is going to end up, or whatever the corporation is going to end up, owning so much of the business where the product was coming from. But until the bubble burst in 2008, Americans were consuming 50% of everything that was made in the world. I don't even know what to say about that. That's beyond greed. I don't even know what to say about that. And you go into most people's houses and there's not a corner of it that doesn't have something. There's not a cabinet that's not filled with just busting out. Their attics are packed to capacity. Their basements are packed to capacity, basically with stuff that they don't use anymore and didn't use that much anyway. We are marketed to. And, because of television and whatever else, I don't know if any other country has been marketed to and have been the consumers that, Americans have a bottomless pit when it comes to consuming things. And the things that we consume are not things that are biodegradable, so it can't go back into the earth. It's just, some old junk that's going to be sitting somewhere. And as the weather rains on it, and as we get rid of it, and it's so interesting. It's just so interesting how irresponsible. And at that point, not just how irresponsible Americans are, but how irresponsible human beings are with all of the mess we create. And it really, because, really, when you buy something, it don't have no value anymore. Doesn't really have any value anymore. So it's just very interesting how we just keep consuming and consuming and consuming things that really don't have that much value. And we just keep consuming it and throwing it away, so what is the world going to look like in another 50 years? Just barges of junk floating around because some country doesn't want to buy our garbage. We're no longer going to hold your garbage.
Yeah.
Ooh, it's a lot of rethinking that has to go on in the world.
A lot.
But
Okay.
I am just so happy that I have learned to laugh at it. And Because I put it in a way where I still think something has to be done, but while I'm doing my part, like I don't understand why people don't recycle. Even if they don't do, people told me, well, they don't do any this and they don't do any of that. And I just be saying,
that sounds like me. That sounds like me. But yeah. So Oscar asks, why do we do daylight savings time? Do you want to take that or?
Honey, I have no idea because I think it's stupid. It's stupid. I'm just glad we get more light because people want to base so much on, there's so many people that want to base so much on the stars and time and all of this. But when you're playing with the time like that, but what I will do, Oscar, is I did read something in terms of how that came about. And I will try to find that because I consume a lot of information. And all the time, I can't remember where I got it from.
I think a lot has to do with clicking. A lot has to do with economics.
Yes, and it is certainly, I think it has something to do with economics as well.
Yeah. So when, if you have a business and you've got your family life, you've got everything that you can do. There was a time when, this is, maybe 100, 150 years ago, because I also remember working in tobacco and working in cotton myself, that we didn't go to school because we got to get those fields picked. We got to get cotton picked. We got to get the tobacco, whatever. So they changed the time, I guess. Every state did not do it, but in the South, predominantly, most of the southern states were the first states to adopt the idea of daylight savings time. That we went to bed earlier, or whichever one it works for, so we could have a longer day. When we get home from school, we could do more, or daddy could do more in the mornings than he could at night. So it had more to do with what is the most productive way to use this 24 hours. And that would be to go to bed early and stay up a little bit later. You're not really staying up a little bit later, but you've got to, it's about 2 weeks before you've got to make that adjustment of the change. But after that, I think it's like jet lag when people say that they on some type of the red eye, maybe. It may not be the red eye, but when they go from one place to another, they can't shift their body into the right form of sleep. So, but I know other countries don't necessarily do it, such as Guinea-Bissau. I don't know about Algeria. Hassim didn't say if their time changes or not. But I know in Germany, the time changes because I have a student in Germany. And I called one day and he wasn't there, and his mom said that their time had changed. Their time doesn't change the same as mine, but they do have a time change.
Well, I just looked it up and it said, why was daylight savings time created? It said Germany established daylight saving time in May of 1916.
Okay.
As a way to conserve fuel during World War I. The rest of Europe came on board shortly thereafter. And in 1918, the United States adopted daylight saving time.
Okay. So there. I figured it had something to do with the economy, making something, producing something, getting something. So there you have our answer. Great question. Thank you. Great question. I was talking with a student, and my student wanted to understand how to use certain phrasal verbs. And the one that I'm thinking of was break up. But I wanted him to understand how to use it more so in the business environment. It was break up and break apart. And as we both talked, we break up large organizations because they're just too big. And so he got the break up, and he said, so it's just like, so we were looking at break up and break apart. So when relationships break apart, and it was more like relationships break up, And I said that they both could mean the same thing, but sometimes it's more of the context and what we are accustomed to saying. We don't typically say that the relationship has broken apart, or the relationship will break apart, or the relationship, I was just trying to use the present tense of break, but it's it's break up, not break apart. And when I was trying to explain it, it's interesting how immediate the idea, or I can visualize the situation and trying to explain to a non-native English speaker, what does it mean? And literally, you can't take the word break and the word apart to make sense out of them, because together they have a different meaning. But if you put them together, they have another meaning. So I try to explain that that's why it's important to stop translating in your head. Just hear the sentence, see the construct, and then understand what is being said. Then when you practice this phrasal verb, it becomes easily to understand it, as opposed to looking at the two words individually and translating what it means from your native language into English, and then trying to put the two pieces together. It doesn't mean the same thing. And I think he is from, where is he from? I can't remember, but anyway, it's just interesting how we're learning things and we're trying to learn things together. And when I think a student has learned so much that I'm overcompensating them because they are able to speak the language easily, to say the word break apart or to break up is very easily spoken, but the understanding is lost because I don't recognize that there's translation going on in that person's head. And my point for saying that is I'm not necessarily sure, but I was just remembering a student that I had recently, and we were looking at that phrasal verb.
I want to go back to daylight saving time, because
Okay.
even though daylight saving times, we adopted it in 1918, it was unpopular here. And so it was abolished after World War One.
Okay.
Then on February 9, 1942, Franklin Roosevelt, now this was like at the end of the Depression, I do believe, Franklin Roosevelt instituted a year-round daylight saving time, which he called wartime. And this lasted from 1942 until September 30, 1945. Daylight saving time didn't become standard. Now, I really didn't know this. Didn't become standard in the United States until the passage of the Uniform Time Act of 1966, which mandated certain time across the country within established time zones. It stated that clocks would advance 1 hour at 2 a.m. on the last Sunday in April and turn back 1 hour at 2 a.m. on the last Sunday in October. States, however, could still exempt themselves from daylight saving time as long as the entire state did so. So all the cities had to agree. In the 1970s, due to the 1973 oil embargo, Congress enacted a trial period of year-round daylight saving time from January 1974 to April 1975 in order to conserve energy. So I guess what that means is that when we have daylight saving time, we have enough light where we don't have to have electricity on in our homes or in our businesses or what have you. Energy savings is often cited as the main reason for daylight saving time. However, studies have shown that an energy saved due to a reduction of the use of light is offset by an increased use of air conditioning. So it's so funny. And I mean, it just goes on and on. So it's really, the question of daylight saving time is a very interesting. But what they also say is people say daylight savings, savings, savings time, but it's not that. It's daylight saving time. So take the S off.
Not the S.
It's daylight saving time.
Okay. Yeah. I think I would have said savings. Daylight savings time. Yeah.
No.
Okay.
And that's and most people, that's what they say. They say saving.
That's what I think. And that's what I would have said. Daylight savings time.
And I just think it's so interesting, all the things that people do that are just so butt-ass backwards. And we just don't even know it's butt-ass backwards because that's just the way we think it is. And it's so not that. Mm-hmm. Something, no, drop that S. I'm never going to get over it. It's like women say, it's like Black women saying, I'm going to get my hair permed.
Yeah.
When perm is for people who have straight hair, who want to have a tighter curl pattern and get that wavy. If you got really straight hair, you want to get that wave or that curly look. Uh-huh. A perm helps straight hair have a tighter curl pattern. Well, Black people's hair pattern, Black people who say I have nappy hair, really what they have is they have hair that has the strongest curl pattern because it just curls up and curls up and curls up. And sometimes you can pull a piece of that hair that looks like a little bead on somebody's hair. But if you pulled it out and pulled it out and pulled it out, so you relax that. And so that's what Black women do. We get our hair relaxed because we have the tightest curl pattern ever, but nobody says that.
No, we say perm.
I want to get a perm, my perm.
Right. So yeah. That's interesting. I just think
it's hilarious.
Yeah.
Yes. And I mean, we could sit here and think of many more things that we say that ain't got nothing to do with the thing that we're talking about.
And can you imagine then the challenge that is before the non-native English speaker?
In terms of?
Savings, to me, if it's the daylight and I'm only putting it as a single, I kind of see it, but they always say savings. Or if the word permanent means and the word relax mean, what is actually happening? Are you getting your hair relaxed? And I think it's because, I don't necessarily know, but there's a certain thought out there that when a group of people are doing something, we want to copy that. So if a certain group of people are not getting their hair relaxed, we want to use the same terminology that they're using. I'm doing something to my hair with a chemical. I'm going to call it a perm. Although I should perhaps say I'm getting my hair relaxed. I do hear people say now, well, I don't hear too much of anything now, but I think I do hear some people say, I just need a relaxer. I need a relaxer.
Because it's people like me that's out here telling people, stop saying that. Because that's not what's happening. Because I'm one of those people. Once I learn something, I'd be like, that's not the way we, like now that I just read that, it's not daylight savings time. I will. And that's how you break habits, especially habits that are not right. So I don't want to keep repeating daylight savings time. I'm going to say daylight saving time, time. I want to say it, I
daylight saving time.
Who made it up like it's supposed to be, because it's going to be different now. It makes my brain work.
Yes.
That's the kind of stuff to help keeps the pathways, the neural pathways pliable. I was doing hair shows. And so I was working with a hairstylist. She was probably the top African-American hairstylist in the country at the time.
Okay.
So she was the one, we would be talking about getting our hair perm. She looked at us one day. She said, I cannot take women she was talking about me and my girlfriend, and we had all gone to school together because her daughter had been one of our classmates. So we were hair models
Okay.
for Johnson Products, for Soft Sheen, we worked, who else? We worked for another company.
Dudley.
And she sat us down one day and she said, will you all please stop saying you getting your hair perm? You ain't no way getting your hair perm. You all are getting relaxers. It's
Okay.
relaxer.
Right.
And I had to be all of 22. So I have not said I'm getting no perm since I was 22. And anybody that any women who I ever hear say they they got to get their hair perm. I was like, baby, it ain't perm. Now you might keep saying that, but you're not getting your hair permed. You are getting your hair relaxed. So you might want to think about, saying that, because the more we say it, and we say that to our stylists, who should be the ones that are telling us, and I'm sure if you had that conversation with your stylist, that she either knows or she would be like, oh, it's so nice that you are coming with that conversation. And it's the same way that we should deal with our doctors. You know how often I say Dr. P. It's, if I have a doctor and that doctor is not versed in the language of holistic medicine or natural medicine, or the role that nutrition plays in helping the body to heal itself, then those are conversations that we should be having with our doctors. We have to stop being people that allow somebody else that's given us limited information that many times is wrong and bad information, but because it's coming from a person that has, been supposedly educated,
credentials.
We have to, it's our responsibility to really help enlighten them. And just because a person is a MD doctor, I don't care. I don't care who anybody is. There's so much out here to learn. Nobody knows it all, and nobody is ever going to know it all, in a sense, because I do believe that we know everything that has ever happened since the beginning of the time. We just don't know how to access it. And until we start living in ways where that's what we dig for, that's an inside job, and that's what we meditate on and breathe on and, woosah on, we're never going to know. But the reality is, it's on us. It's on us to educate each other. And that doesn't have anything to do with whether I got a degree, whether I got, how far I went in school or anything, because it's interesting that people think that once they leave school, they don't have any, you stop learning, I guess. No, I think that's insane. I think that's pure insanity, to think that there's nothing else to learn in the world when that's all there is to do in the world is to learn. What's more interesting than continuing to learn? Here again, one of the reasons, and learn new things, learn things that I don't know, or learn the right thing about the thing that I think I know that I really don't know, because, it has changed since I first, was exposed to that information.
And so what we get from this is, the more you question things, it frees your brain to learn more, take in more. If you just keep the same information that you've always learned from childhood and you never change your way of thinking, it makes it difficult for you to even accept other people's ideas. Oscar wants to know, what do you mean by credentials? Haseen says that breakup can be used when something is about your voice is going in and out during a phone call. That would be an excellent example. Haas says that the time does not change in Algeria.
Yeah.
And
there's a lot of countries where the time, there's no daylight saving time. But what I also know is, because what I heard a couple of weeks ago, all of the states in the United States don't practice daylight saving time.
Okay. And then the last one, Oscar wants to know, Coach Dwania, is that what I was thinking? It's all about economics and factors, production, done, want to be up to us, which could not be possible. So I'm not exactly sure if I get the question or your response. So if you can answer for Oscar, credentials, and yeah, I think it's just what are credentials?
Oh, well, credentials are just, when I go to school to get a bachelor's of fine arts, or if I go and stay another year or two, I can get a master's, or if I stay and go and do my dissertation, I can get a PhD, or if I go to medical school, I'm a medical doctor, or if I want to be a wellness consultant, which I am, I go and get a certification. And whatever it is that you want to do. Do I want to be a certified this? Do I want to be a master that? So we go and we get all of these credentials, or
so they're like your documentations that says, oh,
right, that I'm capable of doing something. So
and the expectation is that you are more knowledgeable about some things. And that's,
believe you me, is just an expectation. Just because a person is good at making great grades and something like that, too many people have no idea how to really implement and be really great at what they do. I'm sorry. And they walking around with all of these titles. And
what are some of the key indicators? What are some of the true indicators that you look for, Coach Dwania?
Well, first of all, I think that most people who go after all of these degrees and they go after all of these credentials, they're doing so with the belief system that if I get this, I'm going to be able to make more money. Because here, all roads, Oscar and Haas, all roads lead back to finance. And that's the way the world, because that is the way the world works. That is the way the world is run. People feel like there is a lack of money. There is no lack of money. It's just that some people got all the money and they don't allow other people to have as much money as the people would like, but they're constantly showing us the lifestyle we should have. But to have this lifestyle, you got to have money. So you need to work harder and longer, but you work harder and longer and barely have enough money to pay for just the basic things in life. So I'm saying we live in the world backwards. So we allow people to tell us what to do, what to think. And and the majority of the people that are working jobs do not like their jobs. And they spend the majority. So what is it like to spend the majority of your life doing something that you don't want to do because you're trying to make some money to get what you want, but you can't really get what you want because the basics is, you can barely pay for the basics. So you're constantly what they call robbing Peter to pay Paul.
Robbing Peter to pay Paul.
While just a few people who have all the money who have said it's money that's going to make you happy when it's not. If you're healthy, you're happy. Moments with other human beings, experiences that are good and happy and wonderful. And when I'm doing things from my heart, that's what wealth is. It isn't whether I got hundreds of millions of dollars in the bank, because those people commit suicide just like people who don't have hundreds of millions of dollars in the bank. So what is life? And that's based on the individual, and the individual who figures out, you know what, if I'm going to be working, I'm going to have to love what I do. So let me find something that I love so that I can do that. And if we were doing that, then maybe we wouldn't feel like, oh, but happiness is owning a house, having 2.5 kids, having a garage with 2 cars, where all people do is work around the clock to the point that they can't even be at home to be with their families.
Right. This is true. And so Oscar continues on with no gain without work. So anything that you really desire, you've got to put in the time, the effort, and the energy to achieve it. Even if it's happiness, if you're trying to enjoy your family, you need to put in the time to develop that type of relationship. Relationships do not create their benefit in a vacuum. You can't create a relationship in a monogamous relationship. If you're never home, you have a wife or a husband and you're never home to nurture that person, that is not a healthy, this is my opinion, a healthy relationship. So, but we are at the bewitching hour. We are at the top of the hour. I want to say thank you, Oscar, for your questions. Very insightful, provocative. Haseen, thank you so much for joining us. It's always a pleasure to have you guys with us. For those of you who will watch the replay and listen to it on YouTube, thank you so much for your attentiveness. When I understand how to get it uploaded as a voice. Right now I know how to upload it as a video, but when I learn how to upload it as a squiggly line, I will do that. Coach Dwania, your parting words for today. And everyone, please go to the link and watch the Memphis 13 and leave feedback. That's important.
My words for today are be in action. Just don't think about it. Do something about it.
Okay.
And be happy.
Be happy.
And work on really finding out the kind of work that you love to do, and do that, even if that means that it's a cut and pay, and figure out something. There's an abundance of everything. And all we have to do is just like we have to figure out how to access the healing chemicals in the body that will help heal the body. You got to figure out. But I'm telling you, when you're healthy, you're happy. So focus on your health. It's everything. Your health is everything. And when you figure that out, I promise you, you can figure anything else out.
Yep.
So until next week.
Ready,
set,
go
live.
Okay. So I got something to tell you afterwards.
And we will see you guys next week.